legal professionals or would-be legal professionals. Today we are going to learn about the foreign legal words and phrases. Now the question arises why we are supposed to learn the foreign words and phrases apart from English language. Over the centuries, the legal language has assimilated words and phrases from a variety of other languages like Latin and French. Legal language is peppered with Latin, French terms and words derived from French and Latin. Some of the words and phrases are technical terms to which the law gives specific meanings. They have actually settled meanings. And in this regard, Justice Blackstone said that legal language was as technical language calculated for eternal duration. So legal language is meant for the everlasting purpose and easy to be apprehended both in present and future times, and on those accounts best suited to preserve those memorials which are intended for perpetual rules of action. In this regard, we can see that Magna Carta, which was just came into being in the year in the century 11th century, and we can take the example of that our Constitution of India, which came into being into 1950. So keeping that in view, we can say that actually whatever memorials, whatever documents as such laws particular to the law are concerned, they are meant not just for one century but for the sustenance and but for the perpetual period. So in this regard, we are going to learn about the legal terms which are technical one and the law has given them specific meanings. Moreover, they are conveniently shorthand for the lawyers to use them. And thirdly, the feature of this is they are time-honored terms used by the lawyers out of habit. While English and other languages were considered to be unfit as vulgar tongues. Now let's get started with the first one, which is a voir dire, trial within the trial. Voir dire is the process by which attorneys select, perhaps more appropriately rejects, certain jurors to hear a case. In India, it is being used whenever we are assessing the fitness of the witness. Fitness of the witness means here whenever child is being assessed, whether that child is as a witness is fit for recording his statement. So he is asked certain questions which are very basic questions about his father, about his parents, about his family, about his address and all, just to assess whether that witness is competent enough and his admission of any of the statement is admissible in the court or not. So actually it is a trial within the trial, voir dire. So regarding the competency of child based on voir dire conducted by the court was based on a wrong answer to the question put to the child in voir dire, and these actually are the subjective satisfaction of the court. It is not the mandatory requirement of law. Now second one is seisin. Seisin comes from the Middle English session, or in the legal sense, or to put in possession of. So whenever you take the property or you buy the property from any of the person, then there is a transfer of the title. So a deed without a covenant seisin exposes the buyer of land to just any risk. Without a full title search and property drafted for the conveyance, transfer of the property, ownership of property, you may find that another person has the property interest in the land. So seisin is not transferred, means if you just buy the land but if there is no possession of yours on that property, you are lacking that seisin, means the right to possess it. And third one is pour autre vie. Pour autre vie means for another's life. For example, you may hold this property. Court says that you may hold this property till your mother is alive. It means till your mother is alive. This is the right which is given to you for others as well, not only your life. If it is just for your life, then you say pour sa vie, for one's own life. Now let's move on to the next one is Satiki trust. It is the formal Latin term referring to the beneficiary having an equitable interest in a trust, with a legal title being vested to the trustee. So whenever you are becoming a trust member, you are a trustee, but at the same time you have got the equitable interest in a trust. Now comes the coup de grace. Coup de grace means stroke of mercy. It is just like euthanasia. Yeah, when the person is wounded and injured, or is suffering from such a disease that cannot be recovered from. So such a person is just begging for the mercy killing. Similarly, if the person is wounded and if you also shoot one of the blood into him, that is a kind of coup de grace, stroke of mercy. A death blow or shot administered to the mortally wounded, a decisive finishing blow or an event. Originally, the blow with which a knight dispatched his fallen opponent. Other coup or blows are coup d'etat, stroke of state, takeover, coup de force, a sudden violent action, or coup de maître, a master stroke or masterpiece by anybody. And then comes the force majeure. It is different from act of God. Act of God, if we translate into Latin, it is vis major. But what is the difference between act of God? Act of God is actually an operation of natural forces, which is causing such a happening which is unanticipated to anticipate. But in force majeure, has have both the elements. It is man-made event as well as the happenings caused by the nature. So like a pandemic is being considered to be fast measured, so many of the persons who were in contract with each other, they could not able to fulfill the obligations of the contract. So it's a kind of unforeseeable circumstances that prevent someone from fulfilling a contract. So let's move on to the next one, is laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is a doctrine, means let others do without any interference by the government. So there must be minimal interference of the government, should regulate as little as possible, especially in respect to business and industry. So laissez-faire means when, like in India, there is a invitation for FDI, foreign direct investment. So what the government of India is doing right now, they are just having a single window clearance system. And single window clearance system means you are not getting too much of hassles, and you are not getting too much of hassles and problems to just start your business and run it in India. So when there is a little interference of the government, you feel it very easy to run the business. Similarly, laissez-faire is for that purpose. Okay, and let's move on to the next one, vis-a-vis. You'll find it lot of time in the legal text. Vis-a-vis, this is being pronounced as vis-a-vis, last s is silent. So it is face to face, used metaphorically in relation to or with regard to. For example, RTI vis-a-vis the role of judiciary. Now mea culpa, it is a kind of plea bargaining actually. Whenever the accused person is admitting his guilt, and then there is a lesser amount of punishment or quantum of punishment is awarded to him or her. So it's a mea culpa, through my fault, a formal acknowledgement of personal fault or error. And there are so many words from culpa, like culpable, culprit, inculpate mean incriminating a person when he is getting implicated, and exculpate means you are releasing a person from any of such accusations and aberrament. Now the next one is nolens volens. Nolens stands for unwilling and volens for willing. So willy-nilly, it's an adverb, formal one, whether a person wants or likes something or not. For example, if there are rapist after committing the rape says that I did unwillingly. So any of the person is forcing upon any of the lady, then it is a kind of intercourse which is nolens volens, whether willingly or unwillingly, but the person is liable for the rape or for the commission of that serious crime. Persona non grata. Persona means person, non grata means unwelcome guest. So if any of the diplomat, particularly it is being used in the international law, when one person is moving to another country as a diplomat, and maybe that they are like if the Indian diplomat is going to Pakistan for settling any issue, but that person is not being given any welcome by the authorities and the government of Pakistan, then it is a kind of persona non grata. Addendum, actually we have taken it from the certain judgment. You can see it that on further appeal by the CPI Supreme Court of India, and you see the use of it, that the parties were addendum with regard to point number 1 and 2. So addendum means when they are unanimously in agreement with points. So addendum means to the same things as, so whenever you are agreeing to the same thing, the parties are agreeing to the same thing, same point, they are addendum. Albeit stands for though. Right to information is not an unfettered, uncontrolled, unrestricted constitutional right, albeit a right available within the framework of the RTI Act, which means the right is subject among other conditions. And then comes pater familias. For example, in the Supreme Court right now we have 33 judges and one is excluding the Chief Justice of India. So Chief Justice of India is the pater familias, being the head of the family. So head of the family is called as a pater familias. In argumento, this actually phrase being used a lot whenever other party has put down all the contentions and the submissions in the court, but you say just for the sake of argument whether they are put down, okay, but at the same time your contention is stronger. So in argumento means for the sake of argument, if the other party has put down, then you say okay, it's okay, however my point is more stronger. Then comes the last one is non-obstante clause. You may find it, you may come across it in the Constitution of India, you may come across it in the many of the statutes. You'll find the non-obstante clause means starting with the notwithstanding. Means whatever provisions and whatever powers given in the earlier provisions, but the overriding power is with the clause of non-obstante clause. Non-obstante clause is always overriding. And thank you with this. Thank you so much. Keep on learning. Thank you so much.